Lois.
Yeah.
And so then
I
when I
know.
called the other
Hey,
one,
I understand it. I do understand it.
he
Of all the
already did.
people on this earth,
I
earth,
was
I do
confused.
understand.
Did I really call the one or call the other? I was,
Yeah.
you know.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
What?
I don't know if I've got everybody. I didn't have this on record just now.
me something fierce.
Oh.
It's more than you could have gone all day without breaking your camera and getting me.
I know. Same way here.
Now, that is Ed's chair. He has to sit closer to the TV so he can see it.
Well,
Right.
And when he... That's what I want to ask. Stuff like that.
this was changed too, and patching around the ceiling and new lights. A lot of difference. Oh well, I managed to take out all of these things over here. Now it took several hours. Well, I worked several days on that area there, but
Did you lose a tree here?
No, but we sure enough took out a bunch of branches.
Is that where you got all these logs?
Oh no, but I don't believe you can even see, but it used to go all the way to the fence out there, and they were cut down. I mean, well, we lost limbs. And this is like putty. Using a sledgehammer and so on, it'll be slightly deformed when you're really giving it heck, because it's not brittle.
Yeah, well, that's what you've got to have. That's a characteristic for a good anvil.
And they built it out of World War I airplane scrap. That's how the first one was built. It must have been in the early 20s, but whatever it was, they took the airplane and took them apart. Temporarily, I guess it shorted out because of all the water flooding we did have.
Well, you're getting serious about making wine, aren't you?
No, I did get serious back in the 70s. These were all before 1980.
Oh, really?
About 76. And I've got somewhere around 35 carboys and around 5 gallons a piece.
So you and Doug are still doing day trading, Brian?
Yeah, we're working at it.
How's it going?
Market's been bad.
Ups and downs.
Yeah.
More downs than ups.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
It's going to continue for a couple more years, probably. All that subprime mess.
So you think the price of oil will stabilize in a couple of years?
No, I meant the housing is going to be bad for 2 more years. For about another year, maybe a year and a half, then probably start up. See, there's been less than half of the so-called subprime mortgages that have been defaulted or financed. So they've got twice as much. Well, 60.
Okay.
This is a smart camera. It doesn't do things like that, do you? No.
Okay, sit down, Albert. There I have you.
Well, it might be a smart camera, but does it float? Well,
Does it float?
Okay. Is that enough?
Yeah, that's a thank you. For a slide set.
For a what? Oh, slide.
Yeah, for a slide set on that I can put on DVD.
Any subject you want?
Yes, any subject you want.
Okay, I'll talk about during the time that Dad was working as county superintendent.
Well, that's
I
fine.
remember way back in those days, we parked things in the front yard as well as on the driveway. In fact, the driveway was very, very sad shape. The house had not been built too many years before, sometime around 25, 26, or 27.
Well, now remember that driveway up into the 40s was still in sad shape because I know that I personally put in enough rocks to fill up at least 1.5 feet of mud.
That's true. It was very bad shape, and sometimes the car would almost get stuck right there by the side porch. So anyway, when he would drive home from, well, at noontime perhaps to get a snack to eat, he would drive up into the front yard. And at that time, we probably just had dirt streets.
Right, it was a dirt street then.
And so Dad would come down the street and pull toward the front yard and park there, then come in. It was a fairly new Dodge. I think it was called the Dodge Touring Car. So that was years ago.
It was a 27 Dodge, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was 27 or 27. I don't remember that well, but it was a car made in the 20s, and they used to have much lower gear ratios. After the car gained a little age, I remember one time Isaiah was trying to see what it would do in its very low speed, and he tried to tune that carburetor just right. And the test that he gave it, we were going in high gear, and he was letting the motor idle as we went up from 14th Street, going to the north, and along in that 1300 block, there was somebody walking. So Isaiah was talking to the person that was walking along there while the car was almost halfway jerking, but it was going along and fairly smooth just on idling. That tells you how low geared they used to be.
Right. Well, they needed it in those days, didn't they?
Oh, well, yeah, because even going from Stillwater to Glencoe, one of the things which Uncle Jack McQueen used to brag about in the early 30s, he bought a car that could drive all the way from Stillwater to Glencoe in high gear. And that was important because so many of the cars you'd get out, you wouldn't even get 2 miles from the edge of 6th and Lowry. If you went down the hill and you started going up those other hills, you had to go down to 2nd or maybe even Lowell to get up. I think there's a graveyard there now. But that hill was too steep to take in high gear for just about all the cars.
Wow. Well, that's right. That's right.
So,
well, tell us about your house here. What can you say about it?
Well, it's been undergoing so many repairs. It has changed it completely. From the time we came in here, it had hand-plastered walls, a lot of them, and we've had a couple ceilings fall in. And so as of now, we've had new ceilings where they put in the wallboard or gypsum filled. And this room in the living room is new ceiling. Dining room is new ceiling. Upstairs in what we call the sewing room, new ceiling. And also in the mezzanine, as we call that area over the garage, that has partially new ceiling at least.
What are these rumors I've heard about your paper being in the your newspaper, your photo being in the newspaper in the Daily Oklahoman?
Well, they wanted to find out about the effects of wood and whether or not it could really heat a house. So they started trying to check around anybody burning wood. And the wood tree trimmer that delivers wood here sometimes in place of taking it to the dump told them that I was pretty much on complete wood heating as far as the air is concerned. And so the newspaper reporter called up and asked if he could send a person out to take some pictures. And I assumed he meant pictures of the fireplace. But when he got out here, he seemed to want pictures of me in every one of them. He even had me stand beside the wood pile in the back, reaching my hand up so he could get an idea of the wood supply that we have here.
Well, that's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. I thought maybe the gas company had been complaining about you not using your share of gas. I
Well,
thought maybe Bush had gotten after you.
not this year, but several years ago, when I thought that the occasional heating we did with the furnace was too expensive, I called up. I hadn't been using the wood too heavily, but the gas bill had gone up so much that I called up to see what was the matter and did they change the rates or what was happening. So after a pause, he came back and said, no, there's nothing wrong. You just used more. In fact, I've checked. There's no house within a block of you that has such a low bill. You have the lowest in the whole area there.
Oh.
So I didn't have much to complain about then.
Well, thank you, Ed. And what's the date today?
This day is the 21st of March in 2006.
Wow.
So,
Okay, thank you, Ed.
very, very.
Buffalo Gals by Ed and Tilly. Oh, my darling Clementine, Ed, Copley, and Tilly. 1, 2, and 3, and 1. Buffalo Gals by Ed Copley.
That's the way it was. His situation.
Okay, Buffalo Gals with Ed and Tilly. 1, 2, 3.